And so this is a photo I took, which is a double exposure, which really is the same lady. It's a close-up of her face in the Black Lives Matter earring, and it's also her marching. And so when we start to think about identity, I think about the two facets of who she was at that particular time on that particular day. So I just want you, and when we start to think about identity, now I'm gonna get to myself and how I sort of use photography. And so for me, you can see me, and if you read my bio again, you'll go in and you'll see that I've received probably 30 awards from the director of the FBI, from the Celtics, from the Kennedy Foundation, from I was one of 300 people from 60 countries that was at the Obama's first conference. It was all of these other things that you can read about me. But the reality is when you start to think about identity, when I start to think about my tree, this tree is this is just really issues when it comes to starting to talk about the intersecting. You know, I'm purpose-driven, I'm an author, I'm a nonprofit leader. I've started 10 nonprofits that's internationally, nationally. I've raised over $25 million to help different communities. I'm a lover of life. I'm a black man. I'm an authentic black man. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm a photographer. I live in Lowell. I don't live in Boston. I'm from Virginia Beach. You know, I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm a survivor of a family that was full of domestic violence. You know, I'm a male. I'm African American. I'm a weightlifter. I'm a runner. I'm African American, Episcopal, religious. I'm a reader. I'm a podcaster. I'm a single parent raising my son by myself since I was 12. I was raised by a single parent. There's two of us. I'm a middle child. I have an older sister and a younger sister. I'm a world traveler. I've been to 7 continents. I'm a believer in black joy. I'm a teacher. I'm a student. I'm a foodie. I love to eat. And if you saw me standing up, you saw my belly, you know I love to eat. I'm a homeowner. I'm a director. I'm a leader. I'm a tech junkie. I'm a biker, and I'm a divorcee. And so those are just a little bit of the things that I am, and I could keep going for another 15 minutes just on the parts of me that you don't know. And so when you start to think about who I am, in some ways, I'm that James Baldwin dude that's always really struggling as a black man as to what it is to be a black man and into this country, and to be able to look at how do I move forward. As a photographer, I just want to take you through a little bit of my own process and through my own opportunities when I started to think about myself and my life, and I use it really through photography and everything else that I do. So before I do anything with shooting any photo, I take the time to reconnect. I take the time to reconnect to my ancestors. And so I breathe through, and my ancestors, how do I say this? In some ways, through my photography and through my voice, I am speaking for the dead, and not just those that are living. Because my ancestors sacrificed themselves and went through their own struggles to give me a voice, to propel me forward, and to give me opportunities and put things within me that would make it a true opportunity for me to move forward. This shoot here are two photos from a silent men's standout not too long ago at Faneuil Hall. The gentleman to the left, I call the one to the left bumping fists with God, because the gentleman that's in the mask with the hat on, you know, when he was born, his father was locked down for life, but yet that's his son that's beside him, and he is changing legacy and changing direction for his family. And he doesn't mind me talking about it because he talks about it. And his son, you know, is reaching to the heavens, and to reaching out to his ancestors and bumping with them. To the right, that is a unique message for me, is black men there standing with the names of black men and women that have been brutalized by the police, brutalized or killed by the police, and a gentleman that is there seeking human kindness. So there's a lot to each one of these photos that we can talk about at any point. So to reflect, and so to me, this is the second stage that I go through, and most things that I do is reconnect to reflect, is to take a moment out. So like when this is over, I will take a moment out to reflect on what happened today, your questions, your expressions, all of those particular components. These two photos are from Cuba, and the first one, the one to my left, your right, is an older lady that's 103 years old that was trying to walk up and get up on this one-inch curb. The young person that's helping her actually ran probably 50 yards because she saw her standing there, leaning there, could not get up on that steps, and she sprinted to her. And I actually had the conversation, the opportunity to talk to them, and it was an amazing conversation. The person, the young girl on the right that's looking out the door, just reminds me of my own hopes and dreams and looking through that particular window. So reflecting to me is always about looking through that window, seeing what's there, and digging a little bit deeper within myself. Renew is when I take the time to create fresh eyes. This is actually in Nubian Square. It was a saging, which is a cleansing march to cleanse the city. And so this is just for me, and I had to be cleansed by them before I could actually photograph them. And so when I started to think about my life, when I started to think about identity, I started to think about the different stages of which I went through in order to get to everything. Today I try to live my life with compassion for people, compassion for myself, and so there's stages of which we all go through and that we all sort of live in when it comes to situations and other components. One is pity, that I acknowledge that you're suffering. I feel sorry for you. Sympathy, I care about your suffering. Empathy, I feel your suffering. And compassion, I want to relieve it. I want to do something about it. And so I try to get to compassion. And so when I start to talk to young people, and you might not get it now, but what I would tell you is when you're starting to live life and starting to move through life, we work through these stages, even the stuff that you're struggling with, to get the compassion for others, but at the same time to be able to get to compassion for yourself, because self-care is extremely important. And so this is a photo project that I did 2 years ago, 2017, where every day for 500 and some odd days, I took a photo of a different person of color and posted it on a blog. And that blog still exists, and I'm happy to send you a link. But this allows you to see the different levels of who we are when we start to think about blackness and our intersecting in our identity, that we're not a monolithic people, and that all of those things all of these aspects of us are beautiful. And so when I started to think about it, I forget the young man's name that started to talk about just the intersect in itself and who we are. So I started to think about, I gave you a little bit of this about myself, my race, my ethnicity, my gender, my class, my religion, my ability is really like, I'm an able-bodied person, my mental health, my age, I'm 57. I think I'm a handsome gentleman, right? And so, but it's really around those things. And then when you start to take this and then to level, this might be a little bit deeper than you're starting to think about, to level it to where power is, and to start to think about the different things that sort of take you to power, and your body size, your mental health. When we look at those particular charts, and I will explain those later at another time. But when I started, I'm going to close out of this PowerPoint. But when I started to think about my life now, so right now, during these two pandemics, we've got the COVID, and then we have the reality of structural racism. As a photographer, I've traveled to probably 10 cities to photograph different marches around Black Lives Matter. around the issues of overall suppression, around defunding the police. And so for me, a lot of my purpose, I go back to how we started initially, that everybody in this world is born to do something unique, and that only they can do. And if they don't do it, then that it won't be done. That's how I live my life. And what I see when I see Claude, I see Alex, I see Dr. J, I see Christy, I see all these other, I see believers. I see believers and you as young people that will not desert you when you make a mistake in life, and that they're not here trying to save you. And I think that's the one, when I started to think about life and when I started to think about challenges. I know you asked me about purpose and some other components. When people try to save you, they will desert you very quickly. So, and I give you the example that I usually give is, there's a young person that's drowning in the ocean. Two people swim up to that young person. The first person is a savior. And so what do? Is they go up and they grab that person behind the neck and try to grab them to shore. And that person isn't sure who that is, and so they start to fight because they feel like they're drowning. Then when that person that's the savior starts to struggle and gets pulled underwater, the savior lets you go and is afraid to ever come back to you because they're afraid that you're going to pull them down at the same time. The believer comes up to you and tells you, I know you don't believe that you can swim right now, but let's float. We're going to float here for a while until we can get together. And I'm going to help you be able to swim out, even if you got to do the doggy paddle. And when you start struggling again, they're going to be right there. They're going to help you. Remember that maybe you can't swim right now, but you can float. Let's stay in this spot until we can gain the energy to move forward. And so for me, is having believers in my life has been the thing that has drove me to opportunity. Having saviors in my life has taught me who to trust and who not to trust. And so we're going to have all of those in our life no matter what we do.